think the economy's doing great right now. I mean, I think you had a slight restraint from the breakout of the COVID cases, slight restraint, but the numbers coming in now, even stuff that was a little slower, like restaurants or even the flattening of unemployment claims, they're starting to fall again. Restaurants picking up, Apple Mobility's picking up. There's a housing boom, there's a manufacturing boom, there's an automobile boom. None of those trends have changed. Inventories at rock bottom. So as you rebuild your inventories to meet the car demand, for example, you're going to have a self-sustaining recovery. So I can't speak to the negotiations. I'll leave that to Secretary Mnuchin and the chief in terms of what they wish to say. But no, it's not going to end the recovery at all.
So no need for another stimulus if things are that great.
I won't look. I will just say that the executive orders from the president have provided significant incentives to work and go back to work and create jobs, and also to help the 16 million unemployed who still have a lot of heartbreak. No question. We want to help them, and we did with our unemployment reform plan. The payroll tax deferral is a terrific. It gives a cash wage increase by my lights about $1,100 in the next 4 months, and it also provides at the margin an incentive to work and an incentive to come back to work. So I think those are terrific things, and I believe we will cover the eviction issue. It has not been a big problem so far, but we will cover that and help out with the student loan deferment. So the president's executive orders, which I believe will be executed, Democrats are in a corner on that. I don't think they're going to oppose it, but in any event, those are very helpful, yes.
Larry, on the tax deferral issue, as I understand it, it doesn't apply to the self-employed. Was that intentional, or did you?
No, I got to check that. I don't know why it wouldn't apply to the unemployed.
Yeah.
I mean, to the self-employed. Once upon a time, in another life, I was an LLC S corp, so we had payroll tax withholding. It's a small company, I admit, but I don't see why it wouldn't apply. I will check that for you. That's an important question. I know it, by the way, the self-employed are eligible for the unemployment benefits. I know that.
Would you say that Pelosi is in a significantly weakened position here in terms of negotiating? She's still making sounds that I know you wanted to defer all negotiation sessions to Mnuchin, but in your eyes, like why would the Republicans be motivated to go back to the table?
You know what? I'm going to leave that. I'm going to stay in my lane. I'm going to leave that. I just think the president acted aggressively and boldly because nothing else was going on. And of course, I believe he did the right thing. And I think he puts the Democrats in a hole, but I'll leave that up to smarter legislative strategists than I am.
So you're
Last
not
one.
concerned at all about pending evictions? 20 million people may be evicted next
Well,
month?
I'm always concerned. I'm just saying that our package has a number of safeguards against that. For example, all the federal agencies, Fannie, Freddie, FHA, and so forth, they will protect against evictions with regard to multifamily apartment houses, essentially. Now, the health secretary and the HUD secretary and the Homeland Security secretaries will work together to see if there are threats of community spread because of evictions, and if so, they'll be right on it. They will step in immediately. And again, we are giving cash assistance. The unemployment is very important. The payroll deferral is very important, and there may be more to come. So that will help them with the evictions.
Larry,
So we're on it. So what I'm saying is, it's not like they're not getting help. They are getting help.
Larry, there are reports out there that the administration is considering ways to perhaps cut income and business taxes unilaterally through executive order.
No,
Is that on the table?
no. We are looking at middle-class income tax cuts and capital gains tax cuts to spur investment and jobs and liquidity. We've been looking at that. Those things surfaced a while back in another era we used to call Tax Cuts 2.0. The president has never lost those thoughts. He is a tax cutter, in direct contrast to the Biden team, which are tax raisers. They want to raise taxes $3 trillion. That would destroy the economy. They want to end the whole fossil fuel revolution. That would destroy our energy sector. I hate to say it, but that's true. They want to re-regulate, take over healthcare. Terrible policy. The president is completely different. He's a tax cutter and a deregulator. And the government, federal government, should work in partnership with the private sector. That's the brilliance and ingenuity of the American system. It's not one or the other. It's in partnership, and we always want incentives so that it pays. We reward success. We don't punish success. That's the issue.
With the capital gains,
It's getting real hot,
Larry,
folks.
on the capital gains, real quick. Secretary Mnuchin told Maria this morning. He said, quote, "The president would like to do capital gains tax cuts, and we do need legislation to do what we want on that front." So, is it the belief that you do need legislation, or that
Yes.
you could do it via executive?
Yes. No. I stand with the secretary on that. And incidentally,
So then, how would an EO work if you need legislation?
I didn't say it was an EO. It's not part of the EO. It's just something we're looking at closely. You know, if you go back, Steve Mnuchin and I and some others, we had the economic committee during the campaign, and we originally had a 15% capital gains tax rate. And I wouldn't mind going back to that. Now, the Biden team will raise the capital gains tax all in to nearly 50%. 50% capital gains tax rate. Because they're raising the individual rate, and they're raising the corporate rate, and you've got to put in the Obamacare surcharge, come to nearly 50%, in some states above 50%. That's incredible. We'd like to take it back to 15%, where it was for quite a long time, because it helps jobs, investment, productivity, and wages. Plus, but not through executive order.
We've been told, though, that the White House was looking via executive order. You're saying that's not
Is
the
what?
case. We were told that the White House had been looking at this via executive order. That's not the case? Or
That is not the case.
Larry, on
can I follow up on
unemployment,
something?
just one quick one. Unemployment insurance.
You're perspiring as much
Yeah,
as
right.
I am.
Yeah, you started out with that supplemental payment at $600, then it went down to $400 over the weekend, and now it's $300. Could you just sort of address, for those people out there who are really hurting, what they're supposed to do?
Look, all I can say is, I'm not going to go through a chron. Where we came out was a very generous compromise. We have to be sensitive to the disincentives of a $600 unemployment benefit, which would have affected 2/3 of the working population. Disincentives. So we had to be sensitive to that. We also had to be sensitive to providing unemployment assistance. So we came out at $300, and remember, the baseline for the states is $400 per person per week. And if the states want to plus up another 100, that's fine. But what we did do is take some pressure off the states. They do not have to plus up 100 to get the 300. So I think that's very fair, as I say, very generous compromise. It will help people enormously. And the lower payroll tax is a great incentive. We're giving everybody a wage increase. It's big time. And this is not the time with this pandemic contraction. This is not the time for wage increases, but we're giving a big one across the board. And I think that may incentivize a lot of people to come back into the workforce.
Larry, Secretary Mnuchin said that people would start to actually get their money in 1 to 2 weeks. Are you still
How many?
1 to 2 weeks.
Yes.
He said, are you still on track for
I
that?
said that
Did you
yesterday.
do that? Okay, so
2
you're
weeks.
still on
I
track.
put out 2 weeks.
Okay.
He knows better than I do. I got trashed for it, but I'm sticking with 2 weeks.
And then on the payroll tax cut, President Trump had said you're going to protect Social Security.
President what?
President Trump had said you'll make sure that Social Security is protected.
Oh, yes.
How do you make sure that Social Security is protected while cutting the payroll tax cut, and what, if any, efforts are underway to make it?
Well, we will look at the weekly and monthly figures on the trust fund, which is not really a trust fund, but it's a trust fund. It holds non-marketable debt to back up Social Security. The Treasury can bond that. They can sell bonds, go through general revenues, and sell the Social Security more non-marketable bonds, so they're covered. Look, Obama did the same thing when he cut the payroll tax many, many years ago. If I'm not mistaken, Bill Clinton did something very similar. It's a temporary measure. The only wrinkle here is the president's going to look for every way he can to forgive the deferred money. That's important.
Has he figured out how to do it yet?
Well, we're having a lot of conversations inside, and we're talking to outside experts. And I just feel that both the workforce, and 140 million people are going to get this gigantic number, and they deserve it. They were able to keep working through the pandemic. It's a wonderful thing. They're heroes. But we want business to know and the workforce to know that we will do everything we can. The president has a way of getting his way, and I just think the likelihood is the country will want that deferral to be forgiven, and that's going to sway, heaven forbid, the political class.
Larry, just to clear up on capital gains, if you don't mind, is
You're
this
causing my hair to go on fire.
sorry.
What else do you need? What? I can't. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
just because you know that tax writing policy starts in the House, Democrats control the House, so is this something that you would want after the election, assuming Republicans flip the House and hold the Senate?
Well, I don't
Trying
want
to figure out how
to.
this-
You're asking me for a political forecast. I'm not going to give you one. I'm just saying that structural changes to tax rates. I'm not a lawyer, but I will say I've been in this game a long time. Likely require congressional legislation. I get that. So the president is looking at middle-class tax rate reductions at the margin. That's incentive-minded tax policy growth. The same for capital gains. They want, the Biden-Harris team is proposing a 50% capital gains tax rate. Okay? We are looking for a lower rate, and more than likely, we will go back to the campaign goal of 15%. 15% gets you a roaring recovery. 50% gets you a stagnant economy for as far as the eye can see. That's the issue.
Thank you.
Okay?
Appreciate it.
I'm-
Thank you.
Chris.
Thank you,
Larry.
Larry. Thank you very much.